Christmas morning should have felt magical. Instead, it shattered me. I sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor, wrapping paper scattered around like confetti at someone else's celebration. My sister Emily squealed, spinning in the glow of the Christmas tree, as Dad handed her the keys to a brand new BMW, a 60 machine gleaming in the driveway, topped with a giant red bow like a crown on her head. My parents clapped as if they'd just witnessed a miracle. Then, it was my turn. Mom slid a tiny package toward me, smiling like she'd given me the world. Inside, a plastic piggy bank with a price tag that still read, "1." My stomach twisted. All I could hear was Emily's laughter echoing through the room, drowning out every unspoken word I'd rehearsed. In that moment, I knew something irreversible. I wasn't their daughter. I was just the reminder of everything they never valued. Christmas morning had always been painted as a dream in commercials, fireplace glowing, family smiling, ribbons being torn open with laughter. For me, it was the morning everything shattered. I sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor of my parents' Portland living room, surrounded by scraps of wrapping paper and the faint smell of cinnamon-scented candles. My hands trembled as I held a package that felt insultingly light. Across the room, my younger sister Emily was already squealing, her voice sharp and excited like a child's, though she was 32. "Hazel, look!" she cried, twirling a set of shiny keys above her head. The silver glinted in the glow of the Christmas tree lights. "A BMW, can you believe it? My very own Beamer." Her excitement bounced off the walls. Dad puffed up with pride, his chest swelling as he watched her dance around the room. "Only the best for my girl," he said, clapping her on the shoulder. "We wanted you to have something reliable, something that fits the image of a professional woman." Mom clasped her hands beneath her chin, as if witnessing a miracle. "You deserve it, sweetheart. You've been working so hard with your design clients. We're so proud of you." I forced a smile, but my stomach dropped. Outside in the driveway sat a gleaming white BMW with a ridiculous oversized red bow on the hood. The kind of car commercials show with snowflakes falling in slow motion. A $60,000 crown for the golden child. I looked down at my own package. Mom leaned toward me, her eyes sparkling with the kind of anticipation that should have felt like love. "Go on, Hazel," she urged. "Open it." My fingers tore at the paper mechanically. Inside was a plastic piggy bank, shaped like a cartoon character I'd outgrown when I was 7. The price sticker still clung to the bottom. 1. "Open the stopper," Mom prompted, like she was gifting me a treasure. With numb fingers, I pulled out the rubber plug. 2 wrinkled dollar bills fell into my palm. "It's the start of your future home fund," Dad announced proudly, as if I should be grateful. Then he smirked and added, "You're always so responsible with money. Not like some people." He winked at Emily, who laughed and pretended to swat at him. "Oh, Dad, stop!" Emily dropped onto the couch beside me, her perfume flooding my nose, heavy and expensive. She patted my knee with exaggerated gentleness. "Don't worry, sis. I'll drive you around anytime. Your little Toyota must be ready for retirement by now." My Toyota. The car I had worked 2 jobs to pay off. The car that carried me through snowstorms, job interviews, and cross-country road trips. The car I'd maintained, insured, and loved because it was mine, something I had earned without anyone's help. I swallowed hard. The piggy bank sat in my lap like a cruel joke. $2. After 34 years of being the dependable one, the hard worker, the child who never asked for anything, I was worth exactly $2 to them. I thought of the gifts I had given them that morning. The leather briefcase for Dad, 2 weeks' salary spent just so he could carry something dignified to his office. The silver bracelet Mom had admired in a Seattle boutique window, saved up for months to surprise her. The professional camera lens Emily had once mentioned offhand, bought by me because I always listened. My voice cracked as I tried to speak. "Dad, Mom, I actually wanted to share some news." Dad raised his glass of cider before I could finish. "To Emily's future," he declared. "May this car take her everywhere she dreams to go." The room erupted with applause. Emily bowed dramatically, her blonde hair glinting in the lights. My words dissolved into the air, unspoken and unwanted. 34 years of being overlooked collapsed into a single moment of clarity. I excused myself, clutching the piggy bank so tightly I thought it might break. Emily's laughter trailed behind me as I climbed the stairs. On the wall, a collage of family photos mocked me. Emily at every milestone: soccer trophies, prom night, graduation. I was there too, but always off to the side, my image half hidden, like an afterthought. In the bathroom, I shut the door and locked it. My reflection stared back, eyes too dry, lips pressed thin. I pressed both palms against the cold counter and waited for tears. They didn't come. Only a hollow ache spread through my chest. Downstairs, Emily's voice rose again. "Dad, should we take the BMW for a test drive?" The sound of their laughter climbed the staircase and slipped under the door, wrapping around me like chains. I whispered to myself, "This isn't an anomaly. This is the pattern." A knock rattled the door. "Hazel?" Mom's voice floated in, sweet but hollow. "Are you okay, honey? Don't be upset. You know your sister needs reliable transportation for her career. People expect a certain image. You've always been more practical." I pressed my hand over my mouth, holding back a bitter laugh. Practical. Their favorite word for me. Practical meant invisible. Practical meant undeserving. When I didn't answer, she sighed and walked away. I slid to the floor, clutching the piggy bank to my chest. The cheap plastic pressed into my ribs. I thought about my promotion, senior structural engineer, earned after years of late nights, endless calculations, and projects that would stand for generations. I had planned to announce it at breakfast, hoping they'd finally look at me with pride. But I knew now, they never would. As Emily's laughter echoed through the house, I felt the decision harden inside me. Something irreversible had shifted. The daughter who always smiled, who always stayed quiet, who accepted scraps with gratitude, she was gone. What remained was a woman gripping a $1 piggy bank, finally ready to stop begging for love that was never given. I lay on my childhood bed staring at the ceiling fan, its slow rotation creaking like the ticking of a clock. My suitcase sat open in the corner, half packed from the trip down from Seattle. For weeks I'd been rehearsing the moment when I would tell them the news: senior structural engineer. My biggest promotion yet. I had imagined their faces lighting up, imagined them proud of me at last. But downstairs, they were still clinking glasses to Emily. My door creaked open without warning. Emily sauntered in, dangling her keys again like a trophy. "So, Hazel," she said with a grin, "what do you think? Isn't she beautiful? Pure German engineering. Way better than that rusty Toyota of yours." I forced a smile. "It's nice." She plopped onto my bed without asking, bouncing against my carefully folded clothes. "Dad says I'll attract better clients now. You know how it is, appearances matter. Oh, and he said maybe you can help me with insurance paperwork. You're good with boring stuff like that." The words pierced me sharper than knives. Boring stuff like that. My entire career, my sacrifices, my independence reduced to paperwork in her eyes. "Emily," I said, my voice tight, "do you even realize what they just gave you? That car costs more than I've saved in years." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be jealous, sis. You've always been the responsible one. They know you can take care of yourself. I need the extra help. You don't." Something in me snapped. I sat up, glaring at her. "That's the problem. You always need, and I always don't. That's the excuse. That's why they've never given me anything, because they think I'll survive without it." Emily blinked, startled by the venom in my tone. Then she smirked, brushing her hair back. "Well, it's not my fault they love me more." My chest tightened, fury choking me. For the first time in years I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I swallowed it like I always did. "Get out," I whispered. She shrugged and strolled out, humming a Christmas carol. Later, at dinner, I tried again. I waited until the plates were cleared, until the table quieted for a moment. "I have an announcement," I began, my hands shaking under the table. "I was promoted last month, senior structural engineer. It's a big step for me. I've been working toward this for years." Mom's smile was polite but distracted. "That's wonderful, Hazel. But let's not forget Emily's planning her first road trip tomorrow. Maybe down the coast. Imagine the photos." Dad leaned over, ignoring me completely. "Emily, make sure to use premium gas. BMW engines demand quality." My words, once again, dissolved into thin air. I stared at them, feeling invisible. Why do I even try? After dinner, I carried my plate into the kitchen. Mom followed, resting a hand on my shoulder. Honey, don't feel left out. You're strong. You don't need the same kind of attention. Your sister is fragile. Fragile? I spun on her, voice shaking. She's 32 years old, Mom. She has a degree she never used, debts she never pays, and now she has a $60,000 car she didn't earn. And I'm the one who's supposed to be fine with $2 in a piggy bank? Her face stiffened, lips pursed. Hazel, lower your voice. It's Christmas. Don't ruin this day for your sister. Ruining the day for her. It was always about Emily. I placed my plate in the sink with deliberate calm, though inside I felt like I was burning alive. That night, I lay awake listening to their laughter drift up from the living room, Emily giggling about her car, Dad giving her advice about road trips, Mom fussing over snacks to pack. I pressed a pillow over my head, but the sound burrowed through anyway. My chest ached with every peal of laughter, every reminder that I was irrelevant. At 1:45 a.m., I sat up. My heart pounded, heavy and certain. I pulled my suitcase from the corner and began stuffing clothes inside. Every zipper felt like a declaration. I paused at my desk, staring at the framed photo of me at high school graduation. Valedictorian, smiling brightly, clutching my diploma. I remembered scanning the crowd for them that day. Their seats had been empty, they were at Emily's soccer game instead. That memory hardened me. I packed the photo, along with the stuffed bear my grandmother had given me, and the first blueprint I'd ever drawn. The rest, the expensive gifts I'd brought for them, remained under the tree, wrapped in ribbons that suddenly looked like chains. At 2:30 a.m., I tiptoed downstairs. The house was silent now. Emily's keys sat on the counter, glinting beside a half-empty glass of wine. The BMW waited in the driveway, shining even under the pale moonlight. I paused in the kitchen, holding my own house key. It had always been cold in my hand, but tonight it felt heavier. I set it down on the counter beside the coffee maker. A quiet thud. Final. My phone buzzed suddenly. A voicemail notification. I pressed play, my heart in my throat. Dad's voice thundered. Hazel Elizabeth Collins, if you don't return that car immediately, I will report it stolen. Do you hear me? This childish behavior has gone on long enough. That BMW is not yours. I froze. My breath caught. The car was in my name? My parents had registered it under me? The room spun. They had bought a luxury car for Emily but signed it in my name so that if anything went wrong, the responsibility would be mine. I laughed. A hollow, broken laugh that echoed in the empty kitchen. At 3:00 a.m., I rolled my suitcase out to my Toyota. The old engine coughed to life, a familiar, comforting sound. As I pulled onto the empty highway, I didn't look back. The voicemail replayed in my mind, Dad's voice twisting like a knife. Return the car or we'll report it stolen. Stolen. That word rang louder than the tires on the wet pavement. By the time the streetlights blurred into streaks of gold, I whispered to myself, they didn't just give me nothing. They gave me their burden, their trap, their betrayal. And for the first time in my life, I decided I wasn't going to carry it anymore. The Toyota's headlights cut through the damp Portland streets as I pulled away from the house I had called home for 34 years. My suitcase rattled in the trunk, a hollow percussion matching the thud of my heart. The clock on the dashboard glowed. 3:02 a.m. Merry Christmas. Snowflakes drifted from the sky, catching in the beams of my headlights. The wipers screeched across the windshield, fighting to keep my view clear. Bing Crosby crooned faintly on the radio about having a white Christmas, and the irony was so sharp it made me laugh, a sound brittle enough to break. I twisted the volume knob until silence swallowed the car. On the passenger seat, the piggy bank stared back at me. Its cartoon grin mocked me, the same way Emily's smirk had mocked me hours earlier. I almost hurled it out the window, but something inside me stopped. Not yet. That piggy bank would be my reminder of why I was leaving. The highway opened before me, empty except for the occasional semi-truck barreling past. Each time their spray of slush hit my windshield, I gripped the steering wheel tighter, driving blind for a few terrifying seconds, until the wipers cleared a small patch of visibility. My knuckles whitened, but I didn't slow down. My phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. I didn't need to hear it to know who it was. Dad, furious, demanding compliance. Mom, crying theatrically about her blood pressure. Emily, laughing behind their voices. They blended together like a chorus of ghosts I was finally leaving behind. Still, curiosity clawed at me. At a red light, I tapped the screen. Dad's voice erupted once more. Hazel, I'm serious. Return the car or we'll have no choice but to involve the police. Don't embarrass this family any more than you already have. Embarrass this family? I barked a bitter laugh. I was the one who'd paid my way through college, the one who never asked for handouts, the one who built a career from scratch. And yet, I was the embarrassment? Tears blurred the red light until it bled into the wet pavement like spilled paint. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, pressing harder on the accelerator when the light changed. As the miles slipped by, memories surged uninvited. My 5th birthday, Emily's princess party, complete with pony rides and a 3-tier cake. My 6th grocery store sheet cake, 2 friends, plastic cups. Dad had told me, your sister needs the social stimulation. You're more independent. High school graduation me, valedictorian, giving a speech about persistence while scanning the bleachers for my family. Their seats had been empty. Emily had a soccer game that day. We'll watch the recording, Mom had said, handing me the VHS tape later as if it was enough. College me, juggling 25 hours a week at the campus bookstore while taking maximum credits. Emily was in Europe, finding herself on my parents' dime. Dad had told me, she needs to explore. You've always known who you are. Their words rang in my ears like a cruel mantra. She needs. You don't. She deserves. You'll manage. By 4 a.m., I had left the city behind. The highway cut through forests heavy with snow, their branches sagging under the weight. My Toyota's heater sputtered, struggling against the December chill. I shivered, pulling my scarf tighter around my neck. The piggy bank rattled on the seat every time I hit a bump. I imagined it whispering, $2. That's all you're worth to them. Another call lit up my phone, Mom this time. I let it ring, but her voicemail followed immediately. Hazel, the doctor says my blood pressure is dangerously high. Is that what you want? To put me in the hospital with your selfish behavior? Manipulation wrapped in maternal guilt. Classic. I deleted the message before she could finish. The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. For years I'd craved their voices, their approval. Tonight, I wanted nothing more than for them to stop speaking to me forever. Around 5 a.m., exhaustion pressed down on me, but adrenaline kept me upright. The highway signs counted down the miles to the California border, each one a promise of escape. Somewhere near Eugene, the horizon began to pale with the first hints of dawn. My body ached from the tension, my eyes stung from unshed tears. I pulled onto the shoulder, hazards blinking, and laid my forehead against the steering wheel. The leather was cold against my skin. My breath fogged the glass. For the first time since leaving, I whispered aloud, I'm done. I'm finally done. The words floated in the silence, fragile but real. At 6 a.m., my phone rang again. This time, it wasn't family. Monica's name lit up the screen, my college roommate, my only real friend who had seen my family's favoritism firsthand. I answered, my voice cracked and hollow. Hazel, where are you? She asked, worry thick in her tone. Somewhere south, I croaked. On I-5, heading out of Oregon. To where? I don't know, I admitted. The truth tasted bitter. There was a pause, then her voice turned firm. Come to San Francisco. Stay with me. Family doesn't treat family like that. Her certainty was a lifeline. I can't impose. Stop, she interrupted. You've spent your whole life taking care of everyone else. Let me take care of you for once. Her words cracked something open inside me. A sob burst out before I could stop it. I pressed a hand to my mouth, but she heard it anyway. Hazel, she said gently. You're not alone. Drive safe. Text me your location every hour. I'll have the guest room ready. When the call ended, I eased back onto the road. For the first time all night, my shoulders dropped from their defensive hunch. The sky was streaked with gold now, light spilling over the horizon. The Toyota hummed steadily, carrying me forward, away from a house where I'd been invisible, toward a city where maybe, just maybe, I could be seen. The first sunlight touched the highway as I crossed into California. My Toyota's odometer ticked past 200,000 miles, the engine humming like an old friend carrying me farther from everything that once defined me. My stomach growled, a harsh reminder that I hadn't eaten since Christmas Eve. At 7:30 a.m., a neon open sign glowed faintly in the morning haze, a roadside diner. Its parking lot was nearly empty, the asphalt slick with frost. I pulled in, cutting the engine. For a moment I just sat there, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes looked hollow, my skin pale under the weak light. I forced myself to move. Inside, the diner smelled of sizzling bacon and burnt coffee. Booths lined the windows, cracked vinyl cushions patched with duct tape. The warmth hit me like an embrace after the bitter night. A waitress approached with a pot of coffee. Her name tag read Gloria, her silver-streaked hair tied in a messy bun. She poured without asking. "Rough night?" I wrapped my hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into my fingers. "Rough life," I muttered, embarrassed by how melodramatic it sounded. But Gloria didn't flinch. She slid a laminated menu across the table and rested her hand on mine for a brief second. "Honey, I've been serving coffee for 40 years. I know heartbreak when I see it. Family or boyfriend?" "Family." The word came out flat, heavy. She nodded knowingly. "Blood makes you related. Love and respect make you family." Her words struck me harder than the caffeine. I stared at her weathered face, wondering how a stranger could see through me so easily. "The special's good today," she added gently. "Comes with extra bacon." I ordered it, not because I was hungry but because her kindness felt like something I couldn't refuse. When the plate arrived, scrambled eggs, toast, and bacon glistening with grease. I ate slowly, each bite grounding me. As I finished, Gloria topped off my coffee. "Don't let them tell you your worth," she said, as if she had been reading my mind. "You decide that for yourself." I nodded, unable to speak. My throat felt too tight. By noon, I was back on the highway, my phone buzzing with another flood of voicemails. I didn't listen. Not to Dad's threats, not to Mom's guilt, not to Emily's shallow apologies. Instead, I texted Monica. "Crossed into California. See you tonight." Her reply was instant. "Guest room ready. Dinner waiting. You're safe here." Safe. The word felt foreign. When I finally reached San Francisco, the skyline shimmered in the evening light. Golden Gate's red arches cut across the horizon like a promise. My Toyota groaned climbing the steep streets. But it made it, carrying me into a neighborhood of pastel row houses stacked shoulder to shoulder. Monica was waiting at the door. Her dark curls framed a face, lined with genuine worry and relief. She pulled me into a hug so tight my ribs ached. "Hazel, thank God. You look exhausted." "I feel worse," I admitted, my voice cracking. "Then you came to the right place." She grabbed my suitcase before I could protest. "Guest rooms upstairs, clean sheets, extra blankets, and I made lasagna." I nearly cried at the smell wafting from the kitchen. It wasn't just food, it was care. Something I couldn't remember feeling in years. That night, I sat at Monica's dining table, fork in hand, while she poured 2 glasses of wine. The lasagna melted on my tongue, rich and warm. "Tell me everything," she said, eyes sharp but kind. I told her about the BMW, the piggy bank, the dollar bills, about the voicemails threatening to report a car in my name as stolen, about Mom's guilt trips and Emily's smirks. The words spilled out in a torrent I hadn't realized I'd been holding back for decades. Monica listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back, shaking her head. I knew they favored Emily. But this, her fists clenched. "This is abuse, Hazel. Emotional, financial, everything." Hearing it named made me tremble. Abuse. I had never allowed myself to use that word. Monica reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You don't deserve this, and you don't have to keep proving yourself to people who will never see you." The tears finally came, hot and unrelenting. She didn't let go. Later, lying in the guest room, I stared at the ceiling in the dark. The house was quiet except for the occasional city horn outside. My phone sat on the nightstand, buzzing with another voicemail. Curiosity gnawed. I pressed play. Dad's voice thundered through the speaker. "This is the last time I'm asking. Bring the car back or we'll involve the police. You can't run forever." A chill spread through me. He wasn't just angry, he was determined to make me the scapegoat. I deleted the message and turned off notifications. The silence that followed felt like a wall I'd built brick by brick. For the first time, I realized I had the power to choose what voices entered my life. The next morning, Monica slid a business card across the breakfast table. "Dr. Elaine Levine, PhD, Family Therapy. I made you an appointment," she said firmly. "Tuesday at 4. You don't have to go, but, Hazel, you've carried this alone too long." I picked up the card, tracing the embossed letters. My first instinct was to refuse. Therapy felt like admitting weakness. But then I remembered Gloria's words in the diner, Monica's steady hand across the table, the piggy bank mocking me in the car. "Okay," I whispered. Monica's smile was small but genuine. "Good. And until then, you rest. You eat. You let someone help you." Help. The word still felt strange on my tongue, but I held on to it like a fragile gift. That night, as I drifted to sleep, the voicemail replayed in my mind, Dad's threat echoing like thunder. "Return the car. Report it stolen." But beneath it, another voice lingered. Gloria's steady truth. Monica's unwavering support. Blood makes you related. Love and respect make you family. And for the first time, I believed them. Tuesday at 4 o'clock, I sat stiffly in a chair that smelled faintly of lemon polish and old books. Dr. Elaine Levine's office was cozy but intimidating, shelves lined with psychology texts, framed diplomas, and a small fountain gurgling in the corner. She wore glasses on a beaded chain, her gray hair pulled back neatly. She didn't rush me, didn't pepper me with questions. She just waited. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. My throat tightened. Finally, I whispered the word I had never dared say aloud. Favoritism. It hung in the air like a confession. "My whole life," I added. "Emily got everything. I got scraps. A piggy bank. $2. Dr. Levine tilted her head. "And how did that make you feel?" I laughed bitterly. "Like I was worth exactly $2. That single session cracked me open. For weeks afterward, I returned every Tuesday. At first, I fumbled for words, struggling to articulate what I'd buried for decades. But little by little, memories spilled out. The empty seats at my graduation, the birthdays glossed over, the scholarships I fought for alone while Emily traveled Europe on my parents' dime. Dr. Levine didn't excuse it. She didn't say they meant well. She said, that was neglect. That was harm. Hearing it named was both devastating and liberating. Monica noticed the change first. "You stand taller now," she remarked one morning as we walked to the corner cafe. "Like you're finally allowed to take up space." I smiled faintly, adjusting my scarf against the San Francisco wind. "Therapy is brutal, but it's helping." She bumped my shoulder playfully. "Brutal is good. It means you're digging where it hurts." Work became my refuge. When my transfer request to the San Francisco office was approved, I threw myself into projects. Towers, bridges, buildings, structures that demanded precision and strength. I liked that about engineering. Numbers didn't play favorites. Beams either held or they didn't. Equations didn't change depending on who was more loved. My new manager, Mr. Sanderson, praised my designs. "You've got an eye for resilience," he said once, reviewing my calculations. "You design like someone who's had to hold too much weight." I almost cried at his unintentional accuracy. Yet, despite progress, the voicemails haunted me. Every night, I scrolled through the backlog. Dad demanding I return his car. Mom warning her health was failing because of my selfishness. Emily begging me to forgive her while still boasting about the BMW. One voicemail in particular replayed in my nightmares. "We'll report it stolen." The accusation carved into me, even though the title was in my name. Dr. Levine listened carefully when I shared this. "That's scapegoating," she said. "They made you legally responsible for something you didn't ask for. And now they threaten you with consequences." I rubbed my temples. It's insane. Sometimes I wonder if I imagined all of it. You didn't, she assured me. That disbelief? That's trauma talking. Slowly, I learned to set boundaries. The first step: silence their numbers. I blocked Dad. I muted Mom. I archived Emily. The silence was terrifying at first. For 34 years, I had lived on scraps of their attention. Cutting that cord felt like cutting oxygen. But then came the stillness. A peace I hadn't known was possible. I began to fill the silence with something new. On Saturdays, Monica dragged me to a community pottery class. I can't do art, I protested the first time, eyeing the clay skeptically. That's the point, she replied, handing me an apron. The clay was cold and stubborn beneath my hands. My first attempt collapsed into a lopsided bowl. I flushed with embarrassment, but the instructor, a woman in paint-splattered overalls, smiled gently. Don't force it. Listen to what it wants to become. Something in me cracked again, not in pain this time, but in wonder. Week after week, I returned. My bowls were uneven, my mugs crooked, but they were mine. Imperfect, yes, but honest. 3 months passed. My apartment began to fill with pottery lining the windowsills, sunlight glinting off glazes in shades of blue and green. Each piece felt like a brick and a new foundation I was building, not for anyone else, just for me. At work, I was promoted again, this time to senior project manager. My team finished a major tower design ahead of schedule, earning recognition from the entire firm. Monica cheered, hugging me fiercely. See? They were wrong. You're more than enough. But I shook my head. No, I'm enough because I say so now, not because anyone tells me. And yet, healing wasn't linear. Some nights, I still dreamed of the Christmas morning betrayal, the gleam of the BMW, the feel of the piggy bank in my lap. I would wake with my heart racing, certain I still sat cross-legged on that hardwood floor, invisible as my family cheered for Emily. In therapy, I admitted this. I feel like I'll never escape them. Like no matter what I achieve, I'll always be the girl with $2. Dr. Levine leaned forward, her voice steady. Trauma leaves scars, but scars are proof you survived. You don't erase them, you grow around them. I breathed deeply, letting her words settle. For the first time, I felt the faint outline of a future where my scars didn't define me. By spring, something inside me had shifted. I walked past a car dealership one evening, where a BMW sat gleaming under showroom lights. Instead of bitterness, I felt nothing, just a faint detachment. That car wasn't mine, wasn't Emily's, wasn't even part of my story anymore. My story was in the crooked mug I carried to therapy, filled with hot tea. In the structural drawings pinned to my office wall. In the laughter that bubbled out of me at Monica's book club when someone made a terrible pun. For the first time in decades, my life felt like it belonged to me. But every so often, when I picked up the piggy bank from the shelf in my apartment, the plastic cold in my hands, I remembered the voicemail, "Return the car, or we'll report it stolen." And instead of breaking me, it steeled me. Because now I knew. The only thing they had stolen was my sense of worth. And I was taking it back. By summer, San Francisco felt like home. My apartment was small but bright. Pottery lined the windowsills, and my job gave me more than stability, it gave me pride. Still, when Vanessa's wedding invitation arrived in its ivory envelope, my stomach twisted. Hazel Collins, no +1. 7 months had passed since I'd driven away at 3 in the morning. 7 months since the piggy bank. 7 months since Dad's voicemail. I stared at the invitation for days, debating whether to burn it or attend. Therapy had taught me boundaries, not avoidance. Dr. Levine's voice echoed, "You choose on your terms." So I booked a hotel 4 blocks from the venue. No family rental house. No shared rooms. My terms. The rehearsal dinner glittered under chandeliers, relatives laughing in sequin dresses and tailored suits. My heart pounded as I pushed open the heavy wooden door. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Dad's jaw tightened. Emily's smile froze mid-sentence. I walked forward in tailored black pants and an emerald silk blouse, heels clicking like punctuation marks. The room parted slightly, as if uncertain whether to greet me or recoil. Emily approached first, arms outstretched. "Hazel, you look amazing." Her voice wavered. "Thank you." I stepped back before her hug could linger. My eyes flicked to her wrist. No designer watch. Her highlights had grown out. She looked tired. "How's the BMW?" I asked evenly. Her eyes darted away. I had to trade it in. Payments were too much. Got a Honda now. More practical." The irony almost made me laugh. Relatives swirled around me, offering small talk laced with curiosity. Cousin Tara whispered, "Your parents are selling the house. Medical bills, they say, but everyone knows they've been floating Emily for years." Uncle Simon clapped my hand. "San Francisco suits you. Heard you're a project manager now. Impressive." Compliments I had never received from my own parents flowed freely from extended family. And every word stung, because they confirmed what I had always known. Everyone saw the favoritism. They just never said anything. Halfway through the evening, Dad cornered me near the bar. His bourbon breath hit me first. "Family sticks together, Hazel," he said, his tone sharp with authority. "No matter what." I met his gaze without flinching. "Does it? Or do some family members get carried while others are left behind?" His face reddened. "We've always supported you." I leaned closer, my voice low but steady. $2 in a piggy bank. That was your support." His mouth opened, then closed. For once, he had no quick retort. The next day, 30 minutes before the ceremony, Aunt Martha found me adjusting my dress. "Your parents are waiting in the library," she whispered nervously. "They said it's urgent, a family emergency." My pulse quickened. I knew this was coming. A staged intervention. The library smelled of leather and dust, heavy curtains blocking the afternoon sun. Mom sat rigid in a high-backed chair, tissues clutched dramatically. Dad paced near the fireplace. Emily hovered by the window, her dress glittering though her shoulders slumped. "Hazel, thank God," Mom began, rising with outstretched arms. "We need to talk as a family." I remained by the door. "The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. Sit," Dad ordered, gesturing to a chair positioned squarely before them. I set my purse down and sat straight spine, steady eyes. "I'm listening." Emily spoke first, voice brittle. "This has gone far enough. Dad lost his job 3 months ago. Mom's been in therapy for depression. We're selling the house. Everything's falling apart, and it started when you left at Christmas." My jaw tightened. "No, it started long before. You're just noticing now." Mom dabbed at her eyes. "Hazel, please. We're a family. We need you." I reached into my purse and pulled out a leather-bound photo album. "Funny. I've been preparing for this conversation." I laid it across my lap and flipped it open. Page after page revealed the evidence. Emily's lavish birthdays beside my grocery store cakes, family vacations where I was absent, Christmas mornings where Emily held expensive gifts while I clutched socks or stationery. "Remember these?" My voice was calm, almost clinical. "I spent months compiling proof of what I always felt but couldn't explain." Dad's face flushed. "This is ridiculous. We always treated you equally." I slid a folder across the table. "My student loan records. $67,000 I paid myself. And here are your payments for Emily's education, fully covered, including her year in Europe." Emily shifted uncomfortably. "That's not fair. You chose engineering. That was your decision." "It was my passion," I corrected. "Just like art was yours. The difference is, my passion wasn't considered worth investing in." Mom rose, hands trembling. "We didn't have money then." I cut her off. "Dad's promotion came when I was 16. Grandma's inheritance arrived before college. You had money. You just chose not to spend it on me." The silence was suffocating. Finally, Dad muttered, "You were always capable. You didn't need us." My throat burned, but my voice stayed steady. Being capable doesn't mean I deserved less love. Being responsible doesn't mean I should have carried everyone else's burdens. Mom collapsed into genuine tears this time. For once, they didn't feel like a performance. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. "Intent doesn't erase impact," I replied, pulling one final object from my purse. The plastic piggy bank. I set it on the table with a hollow thud. Removed the stopper. Dozens of crisp $2 bills spilled out, unusual currency that caught the light. I've saved a $2 bill every week since Christmas, I explained. This isn't about money, it's about what you decided I was worth. $2. Emily picked up a bill, turning it in her fingers. Her voice cracked. I never realized how it looked from your side. For the first time, she didn't sound defensive. She sounded broken. I stood, gathering my things. I don't want apologies. I want change. 2 conditions if you ever want reconciliation: family therapy, and respect for my boundaries. Dad opened his mouth to argue, but Mom placed her hand on his arm. We'll do it, whatever it takes. I nodded once, placing the piggy bank back in my purse but leaving the bills scattered on the table. That's yours to keep, I said. A reminder of what happens when you value one child over another. As I reached the door, Emily whispered behind me. She's different now. She was right. I stepped into the corridor, the murmur of guests waiting for the ceremony washing over me like fresh air. My heart hammered, but my spine stayed straight. For the first time in my life, I felt lighter, not because my family had changed, but because I had. The girl who once clutched a piggy bank in shame was gone. In her place stood a woman who had confronted the ghosts of her past and refused to let them own her anymore. The wedding weekend passed in a blur, but not because of the ceremony or the champagne toasts. For me, it was the library confrontation, the moment I laid everything bare that lingered like fire in my chest. When I boarded the plane back to San Francisco, I pressed my forehead to the window and whispered to myself, "You did it. You finally said it out loud." Back in my apartment, life resumed, but it no longer felt like survival. It felt like living. On Monday, I walked into the office, greeted by the hum of printers and the clack of keyboards. My coworkers congratulated me again on my promotion, and for the first time, I didn't dismiss their praise. I let it sink in. I earned this. At lunch, I caught myself laughing with my team over a ridiculous drafting error someone had made. It wasn't the forced laughter I used to perform at family gatherings. It was real. Later that week, my manager called me into his office. "Hazel, the board noticed your leadership on the Richardson Tower project. They want you to oversee 2 new developments. It's a big responsibility, but we think you're ready." I walked out holding the files, hands trembling but not from fear. From possibility. Evenings were different now. Instead of scrolling through voicemails that poisoned my peace, I spent hours at my pottery wheel. Clay spun under my hands, messy and stubborn, but each bowl I shaped steadied me. Imperfections didn't bother me anymore. They made each piece unique, like scars that told a story. One Saturday, I lined my latest creations on the windowsill, sunlight glinting off their uneven edges. Monica leaned against the doorframe, sipping coffee. "You know," she said, "your apartment is starting to look like an art studio." "Maybe that's what it's becoming," I replied. "A place that's mine, every inch of it." Still, family lingered at the edges. Emily texted occasionally small things like, "How are you?" or "Thinking of you." Sometimes she sent photos of her Honda parked outside a modest apartment. No filtered Instagram posts, no flashy bragging, just reality. Our monthly video calls were awkward at first, but gradually softened. One evening she admitted, "I've been working 2 jobs. It's exhausting, but I'm finally learning how to stand on my own." I felt compassion, but not obligation. For the first time, I could distinguish the two. "I'm glad you're figuring it out," I told her, and I meant it. As for my parents, I kept my boundaries firm. Calls went unanswered, letters unopened. If reconciliation ever came, it would be on my terms. Therapy became less about unraveling pain and more about building strength. "You've learned the vocabulary of self-protection," Dr. Levine told me. "Now comes the practice of self-creation." "What does that even look like?" I asked. She smiled. "Whatever you want it to, you're no longer defined by surviving them. You get to define yourself." That thought scared me and thrilled me all at once. It was around this time that Elliot entered my life. He was an environmental engineer on one of our projects, with a quick wit and a steady calm that contrasted my storm. At first, I resisted old habits of self-sacrifice, whispering that I had no room for someone else. But he was patient. One afternoon, after a meeting ran long, he asked, "Coffee? Just coffee. No strings." I hesitated, then heard Monica's voice in my head. "Let someone help you." So I said yes. Coffee turned into walks through Golden Gate Park, late-night dinners, and eventually evenings where we cooked together in my tiny kitchen, laughing when we burned the garlic bread. It felt strange, letting someone in without giving up pieces of myself. But Elliot never asked me to shrink. He celebrated when I spoke up in meetings, admired the pottery I clumsily shaped, listened when I shared the painful pieces of my past. "Families don't get a free pass," he told me once, echoing a line from my therapy group. "You don't owe them your silence." For the first time in my life, I believed it. By autumn, my apartment had transformed. The futon was gone, replaced by a real bed with linen sheets I chose because I loved them, not because they were practical. Plants crowded the windows, pottery filled the shelves, and the piggy bank sat on the mantel not as a wound, but as a reminder. Each week, I slipped a $2 bill inside. Not out of spite anymore, but out of ritual. Proof of freedom, of boundaries, of growth. One evening, Monica and Elliot joined me for dinner. Over wine and pasta, Monica raised her glass. "To Hazel," she declared, who finally stopped measuring herself by scraps and started defining her own worth. Elliot clinked his glass against mine. "And who builds not just towers, but a life that stands on its own foundation." Ah, my cheeks burned. But this time, I didn't shrink away. I let their words land. Because they were right. Lying in bed that night, Elliot's arm draped lightly over me, I stared at the ceiling and thought of the library confrontation. The piggy bank spilling bills, my parents' stunned silence, Emily's shaken voice. That moment had felt like war. But now, months later, I saw it differently. It wasn't war. It was freedom. And freedom, I realized, wasn't loud. It was quiet, steady, like the hum of my Toyota on an empty highway, like the soft spinning of clay beneath my hands, like the steady breath of someone beside me who saw me as I was, not as $2, not as the responsible one, but as Hazel. And for the first time, I knew that was enough. The year passed faster than I expected. Work deadlines, pottery classes, therapy sessions, quiet dinners with Elliot, they filled the calendar until December crept back again. My first Christmas since walking out at 3 a.m. on snow-covered Portland streets. This time, there was no BMW with a bow, no piggy bank with a price tag. There was just me, in a San Francisco apartment that finally felt like mine, preparing a holiday I actually wanted to celebrate. On Christmas Eve, Monica helped me string lights around the windows, her laughter bubbling as she tried to untangle a stubborn knot. "Hazel, you're supposed to hang them, not fight them," she teased. "I'm winning," I replied, grinning as I draped the glowing strand over the curtain rod. Elliot arrived with groceries, arms full of rosemary, sage, and a turkey that barely fit in my oven. "Your first Christmas as host," he announced. "Better get used to it." The words landed with a warmth that surprised me. Host. Not guest, not outsider. Host. The next day, sunlight spilled across the hardwood floors as friends crowded around the table I'd bought secondhand and refinished myself. Monica sat to my left, Elliot to my right, coworkers across from me. A couple of pottery classmates squeezed in at the ends. Laughter filled the air, genuine and unforced. "To Hazel," Monica toasted, raising her glass. "Who proves that family isn't about blood, but about love and choice." My cheeks warmed as everyone echoed, "To Hazel." Elliot brushed his fingers against mine under the table. "And to a woman who builds bridges in more ways than one." For once, I didn't deflect the praise. I let it soak into me, like sunlight through glass. After dinner, I stood by the mantel, staring at the piggy bank. It sat there proudly, no longer mocking, no longer empty. Inside it rattled dozens of $2 bills, one for every week since that night. I lifted it, the plastic cool against my palms. "You used to be the proof of what I was worth," I whispered. "Now you're the proof of what I claimed for myself." I set it back down, not with bitterness, but with reverence. That evening, my phone buzzed with a video call request. "Emily, Our monthly call. I hesitated, then answered. Her face filled the screen, hair pulled back, eyes tired but softer than before. Behind her, a modest apartment glowed with a small Christmas tree. "Merry Christmas," she said quietly. "Your place looks beautiful." "Thanks," I replied, angling the camera to show the table covered in dishes, the pottery lining the shelves. "It feels like home," she bit her lip. "I sent you something. Handmade. My first pottery class. It's awful, but I wanted you to have it." Her sincerity tugged at something in me. "I'll treasure it. I promised," she smiled faintly. "Dad's 90 days sober today. Mom's volunteering at a food drive. They ask about you. Not in the old way. It's different now." I nodded, not ready to untangle all the feelings her words stirred. "I'm glad they're trying." For once, I didn't feel guilt. Just distance. Healthy, steady distance. Later, as Elliot carved the turkey leftovers, Monica washed dishes, and my friends lounged on the couch, my phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. "Found this in the attic while downsizing. It always belonged to you." Attached was a photo of my childhood dollhouse, carefully preserved. Beneath it, paperwork, the deed signed into my name. My breath caught. The dollhouse, the only toy I had truly loved. The one thing I thought they'd thrown away long ago. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I tucked the phone back in my pocket and looked around the room. The real gift was already here. Near midnight, after everyone left, Elliot and I stepped onto the balcony. San Francisco Bay glittered with lights, the bridges stretching like golden threads across the dark water. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Elliot stood beside me, his hand finding mine. "Deep thoughts?" he asked gently. I exhaled slowly. "Just grateful. A year ago I thought I was worth $2. Tonight, I know better." He kissed my temple. "Sometimes the greatest gift is realizing what you won't accept anymore." I leaned into him, the December chill biting less fiercely. Inside, the piggy bank gleamed under the glow of Christmas lights. No longer a symbol of diminishment, but of transformation. And as midnight bells rang faintly in the distance, I whispered to myself, "This is my Christmas, my life, my worth, and it's mine to keep."